Hi, Sai Karate Illuminati. This is Noah, and today we have a question which says, what version of Chibana no Kusanku do you think is most historically accurate, as in closest to how Chibana did it? Now, this is an interesting question because I do Chibana lineage Shorinryu, which is the Kobayashi branch of Shorinryu, and you would think that that would contain Chibana no Kusanku, but it doesn't. You see, the Kobayashi branch of Shorinryu was founded by Chibana Chosin, and he was one of the senior students of Itosu Anko, and he passed on Itosu's karate. But it was his uncle, Chibana Chosho, who actually passed on the version of Kusanku which would become known as Chibana no Kusanku, and he passed that on to a man named Toyama Kanken, the founder of Shudokan karate. And as far as I'm aware, Toyama is the only person who learned this kata from Chibana Chosho and then went on to actually teach it. Of course, today it's been rolled into WKF competition, and it has been altered to fit the Shotokan or Shito-ryu aesthetic that is popular for kata competition. Now, the only published book that I'm aware of which contains this kata is Patrick McCarthy's Classical Kata of Okinawan Karate. And he actually has step-by-step photographs of this kata in that book. Now, Chibana Chosho learned this kata from Bushi Matsumura, and so it isn't surprising that it is by and large very similar to the Kusanku Dai of most Shurite lineages, but it does have a few unique characteristics and quirks to it. For example, this opening sequence with the extra strikes in there that aren't present in most versions. But then, of course, we see very familiar punch chudan sequences, the kick to the rear before coming into shuto-uke. It is mostly the same sort of material that we see in most Kusanku Dai. We have this interesting drop to one knee that is a little bit different than the way a lot of versions do that sequence. But again, we then return back to what most people expect. It does have side kicks, yokogeri here, instead of front kicks, maigeri, which is interesting because most Okinawan versions use front kicks rather than side kicks. But that could also be something that was tweaked by Toyama Kanken in his Shudokan system. And we see a jump here, which is also not typical of Okinawan versions, and that could also have been added by Toyama Kanken, but it's hard to say for sure. And then, once again, we return more or less to what we expect from a Kusanku Dai. That kick to the rear, spear hand, spin, hammer fist, back fist, elbow, and this sort of scooping motion before the Jujiuke to finish out the kata. So it is essentially the Kusanku Dai kata most people are familiar with, just with a few unique quirks. And this is Ishida Kenshin performing this kata if anyone is interested in looking him up.